All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, and remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest for you. Give you a couple of words about my guest. Mom, expert, impact, trailblazer. All the way from Memphis, Tennessee, please put your hands together for Miss Danielle Reid. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am good. First and foremost, once again, thank you for, coming to the platform today and blessing us with your expertise. We're here to talk about e-commerce, like digital branding, e-commerce and things of that nature. Not for big businesses, but for small businesses, and how to take your small business to the next level and hopefully gain some tips or what have you as to how to maneuver your business during, these pandemic times. So let me just tell you all a little bit before we really get into this about Miss Danielle Reid, okay? First and foremost, she's a award-winning marketing expert, and she's experienced in digital marketing, and e-commerce marketing strategy. Now, my first question to you, for those who may not be so familiar with the word e-commerce, but they do it, but they don't really know the correct term. So can you just expound a little bit on what it is that is?
Yeah, so e-commerce is basically being online. So I tell people it's not just selling a product, it's selling a service as well. So that's something, when you think about it, you can be both a brick and mortar and an e-commerce company. Look at brands like Target. Amazon is now expanding and kind of did it backwards, but Amazon was the first place to really do e-commerce. And now everybody's catching on to what e-commerce is.
Yes. And you are correct. Amazon, they are taking over the game right now. But you have over 14 years of experience in marketing and communications in those industries as well. But some of the companies that you have worked for, let me just inform some of the viewers out here. So some of these big companies, Nissan, for those of you who drive, have vehicles. Nintendo, for those of you who game, all right, your Nintendo Switch. For those of you still sitting around with a Nintendo 64, shame on you. All right. Adidas, we all like to look fly. Coca-Cola, these are just, a few of the companies. Now, there's plenty of more, but these are just a few. So these are very big companies. But we're not here to talk about those companies. We're here to talk about the small companies. Now, my first question to you, Ms. Reid, now you've had all these, experience in the big leagues, as I like to call them. Why step away and, well, I'm not going to say come down and help the, small men, but, why step away from the big corporation, to help those who have smaller businesses?
So it was I would say more of a twofold decision, or maybe threefold. One of them being that I would often see not only small business owners, but business leaders who thought that marketing was out of their budget. Because of course you would have these big companies that are charging retainers anywhere from $25,000 a month minimum and up. And so for a small business owner, it's not obtainable. The second fold of it was that I wanted more flexibility. I've worked on campaigns for over 100 different brands. And so I've worked in almost every industry you can think of to help get their brands off of the ground. I was like, you know what? If I've done it for them, I can do it for other people, but I can do it on my own time and not have to necessarily, sacrifice other parts of my life. So like going back to school to finish my master's programs and things like that were some of the things that I was sacrificing. And of course, time with my family and time with friends. But then also another thing that I looked at was that I was having people who would come to me and they were like, Danielle, can you help us? Because my friend got scammed by somebody who said that they do marketing or, and they got them for so much money and they need help because they really believe, in their product and their service. So it was kind of a threefold thing to give people, that real experience that they need from someone who's reliable, who's honest, who's trustworthy. Bringing that expertise down to the people who often think that they can't afford it. And then for myself, being able to make an impact.
Which is one of the words I use. All right. Well, I'm trying to tell y'all, these are the words I picked. So everything we're talking about is going to hit on one of these issues. So that is very impactful. Now, I want to ask this as well. So when you first started working with smaller companies, what were some of the missteps? I'm not going to say mistakes, but some of the like missteps that you would normally see smaller companies, use as, I mean, of course, they're not big companies, so they don't have like the capital or what have you. But what are some of the like little small missteps that you see? Hey, you know what? If you do this, or if you do this way, this can turn, your company around in 6 months.
Yeah, most definitely. So one of the things that I actually saw a lot of people do was that they assumed, okay, well, I poured $20,000 in a Facebook ads, but I didn't get a response on it. And so for anything in business, you have to have a strategy. Okay. And I tell people it's kind of hard as business owners to delegate or to not be able, to be able to say, I don't know how to do this. And so it would be oftentimes where the business owners or the business leaders had tried to do things on their own, and they couldn't figure out why they weren't getting that impact that they thought they should have. And so it was basically taking them through things so that they could know, well, hey, here's how you find out, most importantly, like who you're targeting, who you're trying to reach, and where you're reaching them. Because some of them would be trying to, I just did Facebook ads. And I'm like, well, okay, if you're trying to reach someone 18 through 21, they're not on Facebook, and things like that.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So can you please explain why knowing your market or knowing your product and brand is vital when it comes to any type of marketing? It doesn't necessarily have to be digital. It doesn't have to be on the big scale or small scale, but why is that very important? Because you just said it. Hey, I just spent $200 on a Facebook ad, and I mean, I want people to see my product all over. Well, if this is the age range that you're looking for and you're doing this on Facebook, you're not going to get that. Yeah. So that's key.
So one of the ways that a lot of business owners and business leaders miss the mark is that they assume marketing based on their own personal behaviors. Well, this is where I am. This is where, this is what I do. But they don't think about who their consumer or who their target audience is, because I develop what's called consumer profiles. And so when I create those consumers and those brand profiles for people to show them, this is what your customers look like. This is where you can find them. This is what their hobbies and what they love. And this is how you need to reach them and where you can reach them. Answering all of those questions so that they can know, hey, this target customer may not be on Facebook, but they're on Pinterest or they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat. There are just so many different ways to reach people. And by developing those brand personas, those consumer profiles, you can develop a strategy and know, hey, this is how much, I should be pouring into this, and this should be my return on investment. But not only just with that, but also with looking to what's going to give me the highest return on my investment. So most people don't know what the cost per click is for a Facebook ad. They don't know about ad bidding. So.
Now that's interesting. Now, okay, you just ad bidding. Now, okay, can we expound just a little bit more on that? I mean, because, you're dropping these gems now. Now, somebody listening to this who has probably been on Facebook, I'm not gonna lie, I've done it myself. Okay, I put my money into these ads, but I knew at the time, I just wanted people to see the page, so it wasn't really, like a real true method or what have you. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that, because that's very interesting to me.
Yeah, so one of the things, of course, when you're setting up a Facebook ad or Instagram, it doesn't matter who you're setting up an ad on, digital or display. Mm-hmm. One of the things they're going to ask you is, what's your budget? Or what's your target budget if you're doing like cost per click? Mm-hmm. And so what people fail to realize is that we're going to say that you're a fashion company and that you're competing with Fashion Nova. I'm just using them as an example. Fashion Nova is going to pour thousands per day into their ads. Well, the way that it works is that you're doing ad bids. So if you say, well, I only want to spend $10 a day, but your competitor is spending $500 a day, guess whose ads are going to show up more? Your customer. I mean, your competitor, sorry.
No, your competitor. So as you said, cost per click. These are things that we really never take into, account. And when we're throwing all this, my own personal, experience and the missteps that I've seen people take, they pretty much feel as if I'm going to throw all this money in. And when I throw all this money in, I should be able to get all, as you said, the return on investment should be high. But
Yeah.
there's no strategy behind you throwing all that money in. You're just throwing it in based off, like, I guess, hope or faith that, people will bring themselves to whatever, it is that you sell or do. So,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, do you have increased profits for small business owners? Okay. Now we just talked about some of the missteps. One of the things I want to talk about as far as small business owners, how can, small business owners turn the page? Because as I said, 2019, it was okay. We were all living, carefree or what have you. March of 2020, the world stopped. Everything stopped. Things just stopped. We had to, repivot. We had to figure out how to go about doing business again. So trying to increase profits for small businesses, especially those businesses who, they're small. They were making a little money before the pandemic. Pandemic came, hit them real hard. Now they're trying to recoup. What's like some of the subtle ways that you think small businesses can like increase their profits to get there?
Yeah. So one thing is remaining consistent. One of the things that I see a lot of people do is that even and what people think is that, oh, well, they just mean posting on Facebook all day. No, or posting on wherever they have a presence. It's more on making sure your messaging is consistent, making sure your customer service is consistent. Little small steps, making sure that people know what your brand is. Or one of the things I always tell people is the message that you're trying to relate to your customers actually what they're receiving? Because sometimes it may be where you may think, oh, I have the best brand in the world. But if nobody knows it or if nobody thinks it, you're still going to be stuck in the same situation. So it's just, I think it's really about remaining consistent. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, showing appreciation for those people that do support you and finding other ways as well to expand your brand, not just with, digital ads and things like that. But I told someone earlier, think about your various marketing channels, even your traditional marketing. So that word of mouth, those referrals, asking for, hey, if you know anyone who's looking for X, Y, and Z product or service, recommend us. Those are simple things that can make a big impact.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, referrals, word of mouth. Well, word of mouth is the ultimate, service or what have you, because when people start talking about you, then that puts the interest in other people's minds. Like, hey, you know what? Let me go check them out.
Yeah.
Let me see what's up with them. So, okay. All right. Now, one of the words I used was to describe you was trailblazer. And the reason being is, let me tell you all a little about Miss Danielle Reid. First woman of color to oversee the U.S. Department of Navy's marketing campaign as the marketing and advertising director. Okay. All right. That is major. Okay. Can you please tell us how all that came about?
It's actually funny. So I utilize LinkedIn a lot, but really just to connect with, of course, I work remotely when I worked for a Big Six agency. Mm-hmm. And so I would use it to connect with my coworkers and managers and things like that. And one day I received a random message saying, hey, are you interested in a position? And I'm like, are they trying to recruit me? Because I'm not signing up for that. And one of the questions they ask is, can you pass a background check? And they're asking, I'm like, okay, this is a scam. But it turns out that it was actually someone from the Navy that saw, some of the work that I was doing and said, look, we need a civilian to oversee what we're doing and to basically tell us if ensure our agency is doing right by us. So we need someone to be our go-to expert who can help everyone within all of our different divisions of the recruiting command and make sure that our agency is doing right by us. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And so I walked in for my interview. I had on a white coat, and the person I interviewed with said, "Oh, I read that you were the Olivia Pope of marketing, and so you look like her coming in here today." And I was like, "Okay."
Well, I mean, that's part of branding. You're dressing the part, so it's before you even open your mouth. Well, okay, I see you. Go ahead. No, okay. So that is fascinating. And trust me, if I would have got the email too, I probably would have thought, okay, for real, this is a scam. There's no way in the world I'm doing this. But let me just ask this, because I find it very interesting, and you're not the first person to tell me, something like this. But why do you think it's key that the U.S., Department of Navy's marketing campaign wanted a civilian to do this work instead of someone within, the organization itself?
Yeah, most definitely. So one of the things that people have to remember is that many of the workers are retired military. That means that they're coming from different positions that didn't have anything to do with marketing or advertising. And although you can be taught it, that doesn't mean that you're an expert in what you do. And so for them, even with businesses, I tell them, when you bring on a consultant in any aspect, not just with marketing, but with, strategy or financials, things, it gives you an outside eye to think about, or to look at things in a different manner that you perhaps internally can't see. So utilizing the help of an external resource gives you that second set of eyes that can look out for you and also ensure that things are going well. Because even with business, sometimes as business owners, as founders, as leaders, we get so attached to things that we necessarily don't want to let go. And when you have an expert who comes in and says, "Hey, look, I know you love this, but let me show you something different because this is not working for you," you take it a little bit easier.
Okay. And it's very funny that you say that. Well, because what you say is true. And so many of like the big companies or what have you, they've been used to doing things a certain type of way. And now when it's time to introduce the new, they struggle with it, and sometimes it takes certain companies a while to catch up to other companies who have passed them,
Yes.
because they're already in the new. And okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, these are gems now. Okay, so I don't know what to tell you. Now, I'm just going to say, please listen to everything that Ms. Danielle Reid is talking about, because she is an expert. This is what she does, okay? So if people want to get in contact with you, how do they reach you?
Yeah, they can feel free to visit my new website that's actually in the process of launching right now at www.d as in Danielle, R as in Reid, and associates.com. They can also feel free to email us at info@drandassociates.com, or if you'd like to reach out to me directly, you can email my assistant at admin@drandassociates.com.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Please get in contact, because, as I said, she is an expert. All right. She's been doing it for a very long time. And now she's on the other side trying to help small businesses come up, make that profit, turn around. And, hopefully, man, word of mouth, everybody gets into the mix and we have a community. There it is. All right. Okay. So let me just ask, even though like the pandemic has shut down a lot of things, but now they are starting to reopen now, and eventually business is going to get back to business, maybe not traditionally or what have you. In your opinion, like, what is the future of like digital marketing and marketing strategies living in this day and time? Because we can't be somewhat face to face too much, because of, COVID or what have you. So everything's going digital. What do you really see on the, horizon or what have you for the next 2 to maybe 5 years as far as digital marketing and strategy?
I think digital is going to be here to stay. It's really funny because 10 years ago, or even, 15 years ago, as you stated, how some companies, they have a hard time adjusting and innovating. And I was one of those people where I was telling people, hey, digital is going to be the way to go. And, I had people who were like, no, it's not. Facebook isn't going to be around anymore. Nobody's going to be using this stuff. It's going to be, straight newspaper, magazines, X, Y, and Z. And now, as you can see, everything is digital, and unfortunately, people that fail to innovate, to get to change, they've kind of fell off by the wayside. So I think that, everything going digital is nothing is going to change. It's going to continue to grow. Mm-hmm. But I think that too, it gives that opportunity where if people do want to remain with traditional marketing, especially to reach certain audiences, because everybody isn't on digital. But to reach certain audiences, still ensuring to keep that traditional marketing in play, and think about, too, of what happened if social media didn't exist. What happened one day if the internet was just completely cut off for everybody for weeks? How would your brand survive?
Now, that is true. Well, okay. Now, I feel that's a question that we don't really ask ourselves because we don't think, well, most of us don't think that far in advance or, that extreme. But seriously, what if tomorrow you woke up, there was no more internet, there was no more way of you to do things the way you've been doing it? You got to switch it back up and sort of revert to the old school. Okay. Yeah. All right. I got that. Okay. Now, basically we've come to almost the last question. Okay. That's all right. So let me just ask. I have to ask this question. We come to the last question of the show. Miss Danielle Reid, what is the one word you feel best describes you and why?
Relatable. I would say relatable because one of the things that people have to remember is that I'm a small business owner myself. Not only that, but I'm really down to earth. And honestly, that's how a lot of people actually reach out to me because, they've said, hey, you aren't salesy. You don't try to push anything on me. You give out free advice because you want to see people succeed. I want people to be successful. And that's something genuine. Like, I feel like even if it's someone who's in the same industry as me, it's enough out here for everyone to be successful if they just put forth a genuine effort. And so that's why I think, one of the words that even everyone else would use to describe me would be relatable.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just say genuine, which is somewhat relatable, but I mean, it's genuine. So that's how you become relatable when you're not putting on a front or whatever. Like, I'm giving you my expertise. Like, this is what I've done this. I've done this for these companies. I can do this for you, So as you get to talking and laying out everything, it becomes very genuine and that makes you relatable. So I agree. You are correct. And once again, I thank you for coming on here and dropping some of these nuggets, for us and everyone. I really hope you all were listening, especially to my small business owners now dealing with, the digital age. I'm not even going to say the pandemic, but now that we are fully blown into the digital age, this is how we're doing it. Get you some tips, move, your products and everything online or what have you, and make your business grow. If you don't have a clue as to how to do it, Miss Danielle Reid is right here. You can always revert to it, always come back. Okay. So Miss Reid, I thank you again for being a guest on my show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here and speaking to your audience.
No problem at all. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I have been your host, Ty Brownlow. You can follow me on all social media formats at Word with Ty Brownlow, or you can just go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Definitely get this interview and other great interviews as well. Ms. Danielle Reid, thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out.